Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again. Another edition of Inside the Headset. I've got on the phone with me a longtime friend. It's Scott Kennedy. Scott Kennedy, for over a decade, was director of recruiting for Scout. He then moved into the corporate offices and was managing editor. Now he is the general manager of Sports, which is a network that focuses on community, video, and news. Scott, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we're moved on to another big network called Maven, which is that combined with another couple networks called Hub Pages and Say Media. So it's about 100 million users, and we're trying to take a little slice of that and turn them into a sports network. So that's what I'm doing these days, and I never give up watching high school football, though. You know that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about how you and I got together. I guess we can solidify that in 2003. I'm with David Wolke and Max Wolke, his dad. We show up. We kind of knew each other. We're talking a little bit through email. I was trying to get some things together. I launched a URL, davidwolke.com, but I was so far from that. But I got the urge at a Nike Elite 100 in June at Las Vegas, Nevada. You were working it and took me home back to my hotel and then picked me up the next day, me and Max and David. We went, and I believe it was about 110, and we watched 100 quarterbacks, and that was the early days of the Nike Elite. And you guys were just looking for one. You had 11, and you were going to add 2 alternatives, and 100 kids were there competing. And just talk about that time right there. And when we
I wouldn't say you guys, because I'm looking at all of them. You know, that was my job at the time, is to and by the time we'd gone through those camps with Elite 11, I'd seen most of them. But you know, especially in the South, because I was in charge of the South at that time. But it's always good to get out and expand your horizons a little bit and see the different quarterbacks from a different area and see how they compete. But I was up there. I wasn't part of student sports. I wasn't choosing for the Elite 11. I wanted to see everybody again and see how they did out there. And, you know, and that was a lot different then. You know, that was when you'd go out to a Nike camp to see who you were going to be covering in the spring. You know, now you're lucky to get any juniors out to the Nike camps at all. It's basically for sophomores, and everybody's already got their offers. Why should I go to these camps unless I'm going to go to the opening? So, you know, you'd show up at those camps. I'd be the only one there that was doing any writing or taking pictures or doing any video. And now you got every media corporation in the country has at least some sort of presence at all of these camps. It's really become mainstream. I kind of liken it to fantasy football. You know, in the 80s, you're looking at newspapers and box scores and only the geeks are playing fantasy football. You know, now my mom has a fantasy football team, for God's sake. So it really has gone mainstream over the course of the last 15 years.
Well, and you know, when we started capturing video, people got to understand it was analog. It wasn't hitting a card. We were gathering the video during the combine. You guys, you couldn't run a video camera and watch players, write stuff down, and be a reporter. So that's kind of where I came in. I was just getting started in video, and we, you know, you guys were running servers, and I can't imagine the bills that were coming in at the end of the month. Because every time
was funny was we didn't actually have a video service at Scout. Rivals didn't either. In 2003, YouTube didn't exist at the time. The very first video I had that caused me any kind of problems was big baby Glenn Davis was playing running back out of Louisiana at 6'6", 300 pounds, and it looked like someone's dad out there playing football with a bunch of under eights, and he was just running over people, and I remember
that video. I got a copy of it.
It crashed my video server. We moved it over to one of my colleagues, Miller Seyfert, who works at ESPN now.
I remember
he had a video server. We moved the link over there. It crashed his server, and I was like, I should have started YouTube that day. I'd be a billionaire. You know, I'm not that forward thinking, unfortunately, but yeah, he was big baby Glenn Davis, and what's funny, in a full circle, he ended up living about 2 doors down from me when I lived in LA, because I lived in the same complex that the Los Angeles Clippers practiced in. So coming full circle, big baby Glenn Davis ended up living about 3 doors down from me in LA.
and here you met him when he was, you met him probably after you saw him on video. You wanted to see him in person. You talked.
I wanted him to play offensive tackle. I'm like, 6'6", 300 pounds, and moves like that. Who's going to play in the NBA with that kind of body? Well, he did for a long time. He probably made the right choice. he could have been a Hall of Fame offensive tackle, but he's probably moving a lot better and made a lot more money playing basketball for that long. Even as a role player in the NBA for 10 years, you're going to make more money, and you're going to be able to spell your name when you're 40 years old and get out of bed a lot easier too.
Well, and then we kind of gather momentum. You guys are going back and forth. Rivals and Scout were the two mediums for a long time. And you guys were basically, y'all were it. Y'all would show up at every practice at the main places, and whether it be college or whatever, and still focusing on high school and kind of running on the edge of the line, but keeping us all informed as fans.
Well, yeah, and that was fun. My whole philosophy, and when I became director of scouting, was I want to tell you what I see, what I think, and I also want to show you. So, me, I didn't go anywhere without a video camera. Yeah. This is what I think, and then it's up to you. People say, "Oh, this guy didn't know what he's talking about." Well, that's for you to decide. You're always going to miss. And people say, "Oh, I'm watching a thread on Twitter today about how recruiting rankings, don't matter." Well, that's as stupid as saying, Nick Saban can't coach because he has the #1 recruiting class all time. Obviously, the truth is somewhere in between there. You got to have both. You give me Nick Saban and a team of 5 stars, and I'll take my chances against someone else in a team of 3 stars. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about early signing day. What is the good and the bad of early signing day when we talk about it for a player?
Well, the good is it's so much pressure. I mean, the average fan really has no idea. I mean, if you've ever been recruited for a job, even if you're just talking about going to a job and you got 2 people after you and they're looking at you, it's stressful. It is incredibly stressful. Now you're talking about this billion-dollar industry that is college football, multi-million-dollar salesmen out there trying to take you to basically what could be considered paradise for some of these kids to go play in front of 80,000, 100,000 people, and they really can't go wrong. I mean, everybody wants to talk about this school, that school, but you know what? If I'm going to pretty much any of the Power 5 schools, or some of the others, I'm getting a great education. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be playing in front of a good crowd. And there's not that much of a difference between most of the programs, despite the fact that, from our fans, we have our allegiances and we see the micro differences. But on a macro level, you've got these kids that are looking at these programs, and there's not a ton of difference between them. That's why you hear stories about, well, this kid chose Georgia because they had an ice cream machine in the lunchroom and Auburn didn't. Or this kid picked this team because he liked the colors they were wearing. Because in a sense, it can come down to something as simple as that. Because what I tell the kids all the time is, you've got the hardest choice you're going to have to make, but the good news is you can't go wrong. If I throw 5 names in a hat and you get to pick one, you win. It doesn't matter which one you pick. So that's the benefit of it. We can talk about early signing day. What's the benefits of it? It gets it over with a little quicker because it is so stressful for these kids.
Right.
Getting that done. I think there's more negatives than positives. We can go a lot more on the negatives than the positives.
Well, they're still immature.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many negatives.
It's like going to.
There's so many negatives involved with it that I've been against it for years. That's I'm also against the LOI to begin with. Because the LOI is, Andy Staples for Sports Illustrated did a great column on it, better than I could ever do, articulated why it's the worst contract in sports. The LOI contracts the kid to the school, but not the school to the kid.
Yeah.
So if I sign with East Texas State University, West Bama, they cannot enroll me. They can say, sorry, we're going to deny you admissions. We don't have to give you a scholarship. But he can't do that. The kid can't do that. If he says, well, I don't want to go to East Texas, West Bama State University, well, that's fine. Well, you can't go anywhere else for 2 years either. I mean, come on now. That's not right. And, now you're moving it up to earlier when the kids are even less mature, have less information to go by, and you're tying them into these contracts that are beneficial only to the school. So there's a lot of negatives involved.
Okay, to the coach, what's the advantage and then what's the disadvantage if you're sitting there?
Oh, the coaches love it. The coaches love it. They've got a limited amount of time on the road, and they've got a limited amount of time to do this. And meanwhile, they're absolutely going to be judged by what's going on the field. So, about 2 or 3 weeks out of their year, they're on the road recruiting.
Right.
But they're worried about how the team's doing 24/7, 365. So the coaches love the idea of I can get this done earlier and off my plate, and now I can focus on what's my actual job. So the coaches love it. Of course, where's all the power and money? All the power and money is with the adults and the professionals. So anything that's going to benefit them, they're all for. Does it benefit the kid? In some cases, it does to a certain extent. Does it make that much of a difference between December 22nd and February 2nd? No, not really.
No. I totally agree. Scott, let's talk about this coaching carousel that kind of went on a little bit last year, and now it's occurred this year, and it seems like it might rear its head as we move forward. And that is, let's go back last year, UT, they got rid of Butch Jones. They hired Jeremy Pruitt. They have limited time to, the kid now has to make a decision. He's sitting there saying, now they've got a coach. He's in place. We've got early signing period. The gas is to the floor trying to make sure you've got everything secure. Now Louisville goes through it. Talk a little bit about that as far as, when you're having, a university's having to look for a coach.
Oh, God, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you've got a coach that's recruiting under a cloud anyway because his job's in jeopardy. So you're not getting most of the guys you want to get anyway. You're having a class that is iffy for the most part because of all the dark clouds surrounding the program anyway. Then you come in and, Thanksgiving hits and the coaching carousel begins. Now you got 3 weeks to come in. And I think about 85% of committed players all signed during that period. So you better go out and we say a zillion times, you got to pick the program, not the coach, because the coach is going to be gone.
Yeah.
The odds of you playing at a position coach, the odds of you playing for the same position coach that recruited you in 5 years are about 3%. And the odds that you're playing for the head coach is about 25%.
Well, and
so you have to pick the school. So hopefully there's more of that happening as we've moved this forward because, and with the information out there, the kids are realizing that, hey, these coaches are going to be gone. I better pick the school.
Well, and if you rip your knee, Scott, you go there in the second year, you rip your knee and you have to undergo surgery and set out a full season. You want to enjoy where you're going to school. It is a long process.
I'll say, and Stork, you're right, and I'll say 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. When all these schools, when it all comes together, if football goes away, where do you want to spend the next 4 years?
Absolutely. You want to feel comfortable there. If you can answer that question in your heart, you've made the right choice. Well, all right. So let's talk about let's set in the kid's position as far as let's take a look at him. There's a big difference between a kid that's going to play on Saturday and a nice high school football player that plays on Friday night. Not all of them are recruits, so to be. And I don't mean to be mean, but as we get into it, a lot of kids think, I want to go play college football. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, people say, what are you looking for? And there's if you could put in your mind a scale of, because football is a physical sport. Football is not a skill sport. Yes, there's skills involved in playing football. So I'm making an exaggeration here just to make this point. You're not going to pick up football. You're not going to pick up baseball your junior year of college and go out for the team for the first time in your life and end up being a first-round draft pick at shortstop. Not going to happen. Not going to happen in basketball either. But you see that happen all the time in football because bigger, faster, stronger wins this game. It happens a lot with the tight ends is where it seems to be, the most prevalent is those basketball players who are used to using their hands and used to banging in the box and they're 6'5" and 230 pounds and can run up and down the court. Man, what a dream receiver to have on the football field, right?
Absolutely.
And it translates right away. Now that same tight end isn't going to go play in the NBA. It's not going to happen. So where are we going with this? What's the difference? The difference is in high school, you're not going against the same caliber of bigger, faster, stronger. So if you are a good player, you've got good balance, you've got good vision, you've got decent size, decent speed, but you're not at that next level of height, weight, 40 times speed, that physical ability, you're going to get lost in the shuffle because coaches believe that they can develop athletes. So they're going to go for the athlete. So if you look at that scale, I look at how good a football player is on one, and then how good of an athlete is on one side or the other. And the higher you get on the athlete scale, the lower you can be on the football scale. Now, the higher you are, the lower you get on the how good a football player I am. Again, that translates to how good an athlete I can be. But
Right.
you can be a great player, but not a great athlete. And it becomes tougher to go play college football. But don't let anybody tell you no, go walk on.
Exactly. And you answered the question just exactly the way I wanted it answered. I mean, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about kids and them marketing themselves. You know, maybe I'm 5'11", but I can run a 4.46. You know, whatever the case may be, and I've got some decent speed. I've got some decent hands. I'm a little undersized, but I've got a nose for the ball. Talk about kids that are right now, if you want to go to a university and that university is within your realm of playing, talk about, you know, you need to probably be emailing that coach and seeking him out, not having him seek you. You know, it's a little bit more, the kid, with all the internet and everything, the kid needs to promote himself a little bit.
Well, while you have to do self-promotion, your biggest advocate's still going to be your high school coach.
Absolutely.
So
not cut him out.
Because though, like we were talking about, is those coaches only have a certain amount of time to come in and go and be on the road. So they're going to ask, I'm going to go to Smyrna, and I'm going to say, Coach, who you got for me? Who should I look at? And if you're on the coach's, bad list, he's not even going to say your name.
Right.
So then it becomes harder away. And if the coach isn't going to vouch for you, you're done.
Exactly.
You're done. It's like, if this guy doesn't want to coach him, why would I? There's too many kids out there for me to have to waste my time with a problem. But what you can do is first, get your film together. Huddle makes that real easy. They make it real easy. Or you can shoot your own, digital video cameras. Dad, focus on me, shoot the camera, shoot this. Digital video cameras are a dime a dozen, and editing software is free these days. You can make your own highlights. And your grades, obviously that's important.
Yep. Because
if you're not qualified, you can't play. Plain and simple. And as these early signees all get signed, we know some of them aren't going to make it.
Yep.
Some of them are going to wash out. Again, you're going to sign this LOI and you're going to have any place to go. So the kids that are qualified with good film, good grades, good recommendation for a coach will get a second look as we move past the signing period into June and July, and people are looking to fill spots. But, you got to have your grades, you got to have your film, and you got to be on your coach's good side. If you don't have any one of those three, you're done. So those are the top three. If you can, as you're going into as you're in part of your junior season, get an idea of where you can realistically play. If I'm a 5'10", 4'6" wide receiver, and I look at Alabama and they don't have any 5'10", 4'6" wide receivers, I probably don't need to look at Alabama if I'm looking to go on scholarship. But you know what? Troy plays pretty good. UAB's playing pretty good. Samford plays some good ball. Maybe I go to camp there.
Right.
So you pick out your camps, pick your dream school, fine. Go to their prospect camp and go compete. But go camp at the schools that you realistically have a chance to play. Show them that it's not a waste of time to recruit you and that you can play ball.
Last but not least, just the ability the internet has given a child a little bit of acceleration period. You can take some summer school classes and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about it, that if you are mature, you're ready to go as a football player, and you graduate in December, and being able to go through spring practice and get your feet up underneath of you and heading into that next fall. Just talk about it. It's got to be a positive.
Oh, I think it's absolutely a positive. Football is your sport and is your future, and that's what's going to pay for your college. And you're not a big-time baseball player or basketball player or track athlete or something that you don't necessarily want to give up. It's like, listen, I'd love to go, but that's going to cut into my baseball season. Okay, we'll play baseball. But if you're mature enough to graduate in December, then you're probably pretty over high school at that point. The last couple months of high school is a drag.
Exactly.
It's a drag. Now, what positively can you do for yourself? I can go get acclimated to the college life in a pretty low stress environment.
Absolutely.
Comparatively speaking to fall, where I can go and get used to, being on your own. We're used to being 3 hours of classes a day, but 3 hours of study hall.
Yeah, a lot of free time.
3 hours of practice, 3 hours of workouts, and having that free time and acclimate yourself to the college lifestyle in a lower stress environment and get ahead by learning all the systems, learning the playbook. Everybody knows your name. You're so much farther ahead than the people that come in August. It's not even funny.
Absolutely. Scott, appreciate you joining me. Is there anything you'd like to add or anything you feel on your chest you'd like to talk about or wrap up as we close with it? And I appreciate you. We will let the fans know you have agreed. We talked a little bit earlier. You're going to come up and do a Stork Vision game. We'll work all that out and do some color and come to the Middle Tennessee area. You've been here before. You're right down the road in Atlanta. And but is there anything that's bothering you or something that you're passionate about right now or anything you want to give a plug to or anything?
I guess maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm an SEC guy. This is a different conversation. I'm an
please.
SEC Southeastern football person when it comes to style of play, defense and a running game, right? I used to say that why aren't there any tight ends, that come from the South? Because if you're big and fast, we put you on defense.
Right.
But the way the rules and the game are going, how do you tell anybody to go play defense right now? You're not allowed to tackle. You're not allowed to hit the quarterback. You're not allowed to cover. They're going to throw a penalty on you. That the direction of the game with the rules and stuff right now they're making it hard to watch. You get 4.5-hour college football games on Saturday. You get targeting penalties for guys that are ducking down into a quarterback even running backs that are sliding down. And it's getting hard to watch. So I think they're going to have to do something to make this game flow a little easier, because a 4.5-hour game for fans that are not already diehards is becoming difficult. And it's becoming hard to tell anybody to go play defense.
Tennessee just sanctioned, and now it is an official sport, and that's lacrosse. And you've been watching a lot of soccer. How much will those two sports pull from football?
Well, another good conversation here. Participation in tackle football has been down for the last decade.
Okay.
It's been down. So, we talk about the lack of quarterbacks at the highest level. Well, let's go look at the baseball draft. Why don't we go look at all the 6'5" right-handed, left-handed pitchers out there with guys that can hit 95 miles an hour on the gun? Why? How many of those that I see in the first and second round every single year coming out of high school? Give me 4 of those a year, put them back into football, and now we're talking about good quarterbacks again. So I think baseball is doing more damage to the college game to football from a participation level than any of the other sports right now. But that could be, it might be another generation away before lacrosse and soccer starts making a difference. But when you talk about, I remember when Devontae Freeman, running back Atlanta Falcons, signed his contract. He said, he's the highest paid player and highest paid running back in the NFL. Running back is a brutal position.
Absolutely.
You're lucky if you get 5 years of a career at the highest level, at your peak at running back. Well, I looked at him compared to baseball players, and he would have been the 150th best paid baseball player with middle infielders that are journeymen. One pitch relievers that are out there. It's like, why would you go play football if you could play baseball?
Well, and I remember I brought Sonny Gray in 2007. We was at the Army All-American Combine, and he had a fantastic combine, although Terrell Pryor was there, and that was the quarterback everybody was interested in. It was just the difference. It's not that kid's not any good, but just like you said, you knew Sonny Gray was going to end up going on playing professional baseball, and you said that's the best route you can go. There's more money, it's a lot easier on your body, and that's where I go.
It's a longer career. There's more jobs. How many starting quarterbacks are there in the NFL? 32, right? There's 32 jobs. Teams are carrying 12 and 13 pitchers right now in the major leagues.
Absolutely.
There's 300 pitchers in the major leagues making the same money as starting quarterbacks, and the top line ones are making double what the starting quarterbacks are making. So I think baseball, we talk about other sports, but I think baseball has done more to hurt the top level of football than any sport really ever will, because of the quarterbacks and because the quarterback position is so important.
Well, Scott, I can't thank you enough. This is just quality content, and I know the fans will enjoy it. And we will get back together again soon, and maybe after signing day, get you back up after that first Wednesday in February. Always Christmas
all right,
for you
Stork.
and I.
Love being on.
All right, and we will see you then, kids. Take care.
All right, talk to you soon.
All righty, bye-bye.